Welcome everyone. Today's video, I'm with Carol Belfi. We're going to be doing a buyer's consultation or presentation. So this is something that you guys want to do, and set up with your buyers. So you get a new lead. They want to go out and take a look at houses. They want to start the buying process. The first step, one of the first steps, right, is having a sit down with them, understanding what it is they're going to be going through the buying process. For you new agents out there, this will be good for you guys to kind of understand the process as well, and then practice this presentation. So the secondary piece of all of this is one, there's two common times that I will do a buyer's consultation. One, usually you do it after they've already got the pre-approval from the lender, and sometimes they don't have the pre-approval from the lender. So for today, it's going to be a long-winded one. We're going to talk with Carol. She's our mock buyer. She is not pre-approved with a lender. And she's going to make up some things on the fly as far as her financial situation and what she's looking for. And I have no idea. We haven't practiced this. So this will be interactive, and she's going to stop me. I'm going to stop the video too. Not stop the video or the recording, but stop kind of the back and forth example. And I'll explain to you guys why I'm saying what I'm saying and kind of how powerfully psychological my presentation is. And I'll pause you at those different points and make sure that you explain it that same way, because that'll set you, ahead of most people. So first and foremost, I want to kind of go over just a buyer's packet that I used to use on the previous team I was on. Because through the presentation, you're going to want a packet. You're going to want something of value or something that they can tangibly take home with them. Or in this situation, it's a PDF form, so I can email it to them if we're on Zoom. So right now with COVID, I love that we can record this today so you guys can see kind of how I'm doing it through COVID. But at the same token, this is exactly what I say. This is exactly the presentation I give when I'm in person, face-to-face with someone. So before we begin, let's kind of go through this. Carol, can you see the loyalty agreement here?
Yes, I can.
All right. So this is it's called a loyalty agreement. I love calling in with a buyer or a seller. I do not primarily call the exclusive right to buy or the exclusive right to sell a contract when I'm talking to my buyers or sellers. I call it a loyalty agreement. And the way that I intro with this thing here is I say, hey, should everything go according to plan today, Carol, and you decide that I'm going to be a good fit for you, and I decide you're going to be a good fit for me, I have a loyalty agreement that the commission or the Colorado Real Estate Commission mandates we go ahead and execute. But because you're kind of committing to me, I decided to go above and beyond and create my own loyalty agreement to you. These are all the things that myself and the team are going to be doing for you throughout the process. And so this is what I have for you. And then the loyalty agreement that you have for me, I'll prepare once we decide to work together. So that's kind of how I use this. A lot of people don't have a loyalty agreement. I'm not saying it's mandatory. It's just you want to make sure that your presentation has a couple of things that will take you up a notch over the competition. It's stuff like this that I win buyer's consultations for if other agents aren't providing this, and things of that nature. So that's what the loyalty agreement is. This is all pretty much made up. We sat down and we thought, okay, what can I do for my clients? And what are we willing to do and highlight? And then basically when I'm at the consultation at the very end, I'll present this to you, and then I'll just sign it in ink right off the rip.
I like that because it shows, it sets the expectation on both sides. Like,
yes.
Now your client knows what they can expect from you without having to wonder, okay, well, when is he going to follow up, or how are they going to follow up, or what are they going to do to get my house advertised? It's all kind of right there. I like that.
And it's really simple. And Carol, if you read through sections 5 and 6 of the exclusive right, the exclusive right to buy, mm-hmm. Most of these little bullet points and highlights here literally come from that document, mm-hmm. in just the way that I spelled it out a little further. Other mm-hmm. than that, it's nothing that I sat there and took 14 hours to create.
Right.
Cool. Then the other thing that we're going to go through is a home buying process, or I call it the flow chart. we'll get heavy into that. My buyer's presentation is a lot of this document here. Obviously, if you have experience, if you want to highlight yourself, there's things that you can do to highlight yourself. Lenders, vendor list. This document, everyone can download off of the Builder Realty Council's website. So in the state of Colorado, every state has a Builder Realty Council. And this one here says it's a way for my buyers and for myself to know that if I have a buyer who's looking at new builds, I need to explain to them that they have to go with me. So for everyone watching this video, right now, I mean, it's, let me do a little timestamp here. It's October 1st, 2020. Right now, when you go to a builder, or your buyers go to a builder or a new build sales office, if you're not with them on the first visit, the builders do not need to cut you in for a commission. But if you are there on the first visit, there's likely a commission either on the total purchase price or the base price of the property. And so if you're with them, then you register yourself with your client and showing that you're going to have representation should they pull the trigger on any property that they have. And the buyers do not pay anything different. They can't charge the buyer more money just to build the price of your commission in. So this Builder Realty Council is something I like to show my buyers and read through, so that way there's not this whole, you guys wouldn't believe how many times before I started using this, how many times someone would say, oh, Bruce, yeah, I didn't call you because I didn't want to waste your time. You know, I knew the sales rep could get us in and tour and help us tour these homes. So my buyers were thinking that I was really there to get them into resale homes, and they would think that, you know, since they could do it themselves, they would just do it and they would, you know, save me time. The reality is it didn't save me time and it lost me money. So we want to talk about that, and we're going to go through that, and I'll show you how I intro that. But these documents are pulled right from there. And I love the way it intros, right? Are you planning on buying a new build home? Then you need a professional real estate agent to represent you. So we have new builds, Carol. The new builds are businesses making money, but there's a Builder Realty Council where it's definitely it's in the public's best interest to know that this is out there. The Builder Realty Council is kind of one of those hidden councils that I really think us as agents need to do a better job of pushing this out to the community, because there's so many times that you walk into a new build community and like 50% of sales were with an agent or without an agent. If you have 500 homes in a new build community, can you imagine how many that's 250 extra commissions that are out there that we didn't have to work towards any inventory for, that we're not capturing. Mm-hmm. And I strongly believe it's because we don't educate the community.
Well, and I think that's true. Way back when I was looking at new build homes, we didn't have an agent. We just went and wandered through all of the model homes and with one of their salespeople. So mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's possible and you got the job done, and likely more often than not, there's not a whole lot of headache and hurdles, but mark my words, when there is, your folks will lean on you. When there's an issue or a problem, your folks will lean. I just got a text message from someone that I sold a new build to last year. It's coming up on their 1-year warranty, and they are having the worst time getting the warranty department to do anything. Mm-hmm. So what did I do? I sent off about 3 fiery emails to different reps that I know in that company. And within about a 24-hour period, they emailed me. I had no email response back. Mm-hmm. My clients emailed me and said, wow, I don't know what you did, but they just assigned us a new warranty rep. I hope this works. Thanks so much for whatever you did. We didn't really do much, and no one communicated with me, but because they had another voice, because my clients had that other push, it pushes them. So it's really really good to hit home on that.
Well, yeah, because the general public doesn't know what they don't know, right? They don't know the things that they might need to do. And the builder or the whoever they had to deal with, having somebody with some knowledge, like strong arm a little bit, not that's the wrong word, but kind of back them up and be there for support, kind of gives them a little shove to say, oh yeah, this needs to be handled. So
yeah. You're the witness. You're the witness. You're like, no. I was there with you and them. That is not what was said.
Yeah.
Right. Or sometimes you got to also understand. Sometimes I have to look at my clients and go, hey, what he's saying is he told us this before, and
Yeah.
so you can really mitigate some of those tension points with new builds. So let's keep going. So you always, guys, this is another way to brand yourself. You always want to have a blank piece of paper or something like this for notes. You never know who you're going to interact with or walk into. And so there are plenty of people out there that take heavy amounts of written notes. If Carol put up her day planner to her camera right now, it's incredible what her notes look like. I mean, she writes down everything. Myself, it's very few and far in between, but having this little note there it is nice. See, having this little note section, it helps with those types of personalities. So this note section is for the client. So that way, when you're talking, they can take notes, ask questions, and all of that. The last sheet of paper is the buyer's lead sheet or buyer's intake form. This is exactly what I go through to make sure I didn't miss anything when we're talking about criteria. So let's go ahead and go through this the way I would in being right in front of someone. So let me exit out of stop share. So what I do is I on Zoom, I want to be present. I don't want my buyer to be looking at things, and I want them to understand that my intro is my intro. So first and foremost, let's pretend for just a brief second we're kind of at the office, right? And so let me go through what I would do. Carol would come into the office. I'd greet her, and I would thank her right off the rip. As I'm shaking her hand for coming into the office, I'd thank her for meeting me at the office, and I would say something along the lines of, Carol, I really appreciate you coming here today, and I thank you for this because we're going to accomplish a lot today. And it's going to save both of us time out there in the world of looking for homes. So I really appreciate it. And you wouldn't believe how many times people don't take me up on this. So thanks again. Come on this way, and then we'll go to a conference room. I'll sit down some things. Now, for agents that are newer or for a little nervous with your first one, ask them if they would like any coffee or water or need to use the restroom, and then let them know whatever they say, whether they need that service or not. Let them know you're going to go grab a coffee, a water, or go to the bathroom. If you're nervous, sometimes we're nervous just for that meeting. And once you get there and you shake their hand and you thank them for coming in and you're a little nervous, excuse yourself from the room and use one of those excuses. Go and breathe and relax, because at this moment, the introduction's done. You shouldn't be nervous anymore. We're going to go into this room and we're going to crush it. So that's what I would do. And then, jumping into the Zoom, we would just get into it. So Carol, welcome. I appreciate you jumping on with me today. And I know we had a little bit of a phone call about, you looking at homes. And I really want to thank you for jumping on Zoom with me today. Some people don't like themselves on video. Some people just think that they're not really sure what exactly we're going to go through. But I really appreciate you doing this because we're going to go through quite a bit of things. And I hope you learned something today, so that way we can save ourselves time out there looking at some homes. All right?
Great. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, to get started, we're going to go over three main things today. Three main things. First, I want to know what kind of burning questions and comments and concerns that you have. I want to make sure we just get that out of the way first and foremost.
Okay.
Secondly, kind of twofold to get something out of your mind right off the rip, we're going to go over what it is you're looking for, what your current situation looks like, so that way I can paint this picture of how I can help you. And then lastly, we're going to go over the home buying process. So by the end of this today, I'm going to have hopefully answered all of your questions. We're going to have a good idea of what it is you're looking for and what your current situation looks like to fit into this process. And then lastly, you're going to walk out of here kind of knowing what it looks like to go under contract on a home all the way to the closing date. Sound good?
Yeah. Awesome.
Awesome. So I'll pause right here. That's my intro. If you can just nail that, I don't care if you stop this video right now and rewind it and start over. Practice that intro and kill it. There's a couple of different things that I want to point out there. When you thank someone and you tell them that the majority of people don't have this sit down with you, they realize it's something special. They're something about it perks their ears up and says, wow, like he was totally convincing on the phone. Like everybody's meeting with me for this appointment, but not everybody is. So he's got some stuff we're going to go over. Then psychologically speaking, I said, we're going to go over 3 things today. How easy is that? It creates this sense of calm in Carol's mind that this isn't going to be overwhelming. There's going to be 3 things we're going to accomplish. And then I said, one of the 3 things is just answering questions. So you want to make sure, because this is going to be an hour, hour and a half. You want to make sure that they feel comfortable. You want to make sure that they understand the flow of what's going on. And through everything, you're going to notice where I kind of pause and say, okay, let's get to the 2nd step. Let's get to the 3rd step. Then they kind of know where we're at, because once you start talking, you're going to go over a lot of different points, but you don't want to overwhelm them with that up front. So land the intro, thank them for coming in. If you're nervous, excuse yourself, go use the restroom, go grab a cup of coffee or water, and then come back, breathe easy. And if you land this intro, it'll make everything else fall in alignment. I promise you that. People make impressions off the first 7 seconds, right? Is that the same? Like your best impression is made off the first 7 seconds of interacting with somebody. If you land that, I promise you their mind and their ears are tuned in. Okay. So Carol, let's just dive right into it. What kind of burning questions do you have for me today? Now, I'm not going to let Carol really ask a whole lot of questions right here. I'm going to answer them. I'm not going to answer them. So what I do here is any question that Carol could have, because I'm simply beginning, any question she can have is going to be pushed off into the later part of our conversation. So if she says, well, Bruce, I really want to know how lending works. I would say, great. That's actually what we're going to talk about next when we go over your criteria in your certain situation. What other kind of questions do you have? And what I'm doing right here is I'm writing it down. So if she says, I want to know more about lending, boom, she just told you that that's one of the most important things on her mind. And so you better hit home on that throughout the consultation. So every single question that she asks right here, I'm not really going to answer. I may answer a few if they're super easy and super light, but I'm not going to answer. I'm going to write down what's important. And then that way, when we leave today, I know exactly what I need to do to tackle for Carol to ease her mind, to put her in a place that's comfortable when she goes out and sees properties with me. Okay. So I'm not going to have her ask any questions, but I would write it down. I would know exactly what's going on. For the sake of time in this video, Carol, I appreciate you, giving me all of that. And I hope we're going to answer all those questions throughout this. So why don't we jump right into the secondary piece? So this is where if I'm in person, I'm opening up my folder. If I'm on Zoom, I'm going to start to screen share. So I'm going to say, Carol, I'm going to pull up in my screen, and I'm going to share with you a few documents that I have that I want to go over today. Feel free. I'm going to go ahead and email you this packet after we're done. But for today's purposes, can you see this loyalty agreement right here?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, Carol, I'm not going to go through this line by line, but I'm going to sign it. And so if I'm in person, I'm signing it right in front of her. Take a look at this. Carol, there's going to be a point where if you decide to work with me and I decide that it's the best fit for myself to work with you, there's going to be a loyalty agreement that I send to you to review and sign for me. And I've always found that in the real estate world, if you're going to commit to me, I've got to commit to you in some way, shape, or form too. So here's everything that I'm willing and happy to commit to do for you. So take a look at this, read through this. If you have any questions, let me know. If I'm not doing my job, you better let me know, because that's my job is to help you. And so I'd go past that. We're going to skip through this. We're going to come back to this, Carol, in a minute. Let me get down to my lead intake form. Oh, Carol, if you're in front of me, right? So Carol, here's a note sheet. I'm probably handing her a pen and this piece of paper. And I say, if you have any questions or comments or notes you want to take throughout this, here's a piece of paper and a pen. So I'm kind of sliding it across the table to her. So let's jump right into it, Carol. So step number 2, we need to find out more about what's going on in your life. So Carol, tell me a little bit more about your situation.
Well, my husband and I are empty nesters. Our kids are all grown and gone away, but we do both work from home. So we each need to have our own space to do that. We have a menagerie of animals. So we've got 3 dogs and 2 cats. So that's a little bit insane. So we need we like to have a big yard so the dogs have a place to be. Ideally, we could make a dog run. yeah, I don't know, are your typical not quite baby boomers.
No, that's great. No, I appreciate that, Carol. So kind of pause right now. So as she's saying that, I'm going over here to family members and ages, and I'm writing down dogs. Over here for like locations and neighborhoods, I'm probably writing down things such as need a bigger yard, things of that nature. As she talks, I'm jumping all around this form to fill in whatever gap she's providing for me. Now, if you notice, if I could draw a line, and I obviously don't have a tool to draw a line, but if you notice right here where it says text, yes or no, preferred method of communication, that sort of thing, draw a line right there and think from that point up, this is all kind of that criteria piece, a little bit
Yeah.
more about their family and them. Then below this line, all the way down here to probably more like the financing piece. This is all criteria and a few other things that I might write down, right? So she said she works from home. So I'm writing down here by AM, PM, evenings, weekends. I'm writing down here works from home, which means I need to ask her these questions. Well, when would you guys be able to see homes and things of that nature? And then
Mhm.
this last kind of piece is all about financing. So the reason why I do not start with, okay, Carol, let's go down this list and say, Carol, can you please spell your name? Can you please give me your full email? I have your phone number since we set up this appointment. I don't go line by line, because when I say, and here's the magic word, so you need to write this down and internalize it. What, or I'm sorry, tell me a little more about your situation. That gives me a lot of things right there. So for Carol, my assessment off of what Carol just answered is that Carol's kind of calm, cool, and collective about the process. There's not one burning thing in her situation or about what we're going to talk about today that is really something that I'm going to try and hit home or focus on. So I found that people answer that question in about 4 different ways. Carol's was the first way. She didn't hit home on criteria. She didn't hit home on lending. She went straight into more of what it is they're looking for and how their current situation is going to match up with what they're looking for. That shows me that Carol probably has a down payment. Carol's not afraid of the financial, piece with the lender. She's also not really afraid of what inventory is out there. She's more thinking that this is a move they want to make, and I'm already kind of in my home. So it's going to be a nice conversation. If I say, hey, tell me a little bit more about your situation, and somebody says, well, Bruce, actually, we've been saving up for this for years. We finally have a down payment saved up, and we're at the point now in our lives where we're ready to make this move. So I'm going to start writing down. I'm going to start asking her questions about financing. Or if she says, well, to be honest with you, our situation is that we're looking for a bigger home. We need at least 3 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, or 2-car garage, like whatever it is. She would just go right into there. Then I know that I need to talk to her more about the home search and how it works. If she's not pre-approved with the lender and she says, I'm really nervous, I don't know if I have enough money, I'm going to hit home on the pre-approval and financing and lending. So be careful kind of just following any sort of sheet like this, because it's hard to pick up on her desires and motivations. All right. So she would tell me all of that. And then I would go through and kind of fill in the voids. So I just wrote down bigger backyard, dogs, must have a couple of bedrooms to have both parties work from home, yada, yada, yada. Then what we would do is we'd go through and I'd ask her each individual question. And I want you guys to practice 3 questions deep. You need to go 3 questions deep here. So Carol, let's pretend like I already got your full name. I got your email address, contact info, current address, right? So I need a current address for her because I'm going to send her a thank you card after we meet. Families, names, and ages, right? I'm writing down the dog's names and writing down her son or daughter if she has any, that sort of thing. Hey, Carol, do you text? What is your preferred method of communication? Asking those questions, you really can help yourself, right? My dad doesn't text, but he certainly looks at email. If you text my dad, he's going to get frustrated. He's not going to respond to, hey, Did you like any of the houses I sent you? He's just not going to respond, and he's going to think that you're not taking care of him. So ask those little questions. So once I get here, the criteria piece, this is where I'm going to go 3 questions deep, or even deeper sometimes. But the rule of thumb is that you won't get what you need out of somebody until you can think of 3 questions around each one of these criteria. So we're going to go do a couple of examples, and then we'll move on to financing. So Carol, tell me, what kind of home are you looking for? Are you looking for something that's like a standalone home, like a single family residence? Or are you looking for a townhome or a condo? Or maybe you're okay with both?
I think that considering the zoo that we have, we really do need to have just a single family residence, kind of a standalone house.
Okay, perfect. So that first question was kind of twofold. And then my follow-up question to that would be, okay, so what I hear you saying, Carol, is if we found even like, let's say the end of a duplex with a full backyard, the home feels like it's like a standalone home, but yet you do share one wall. You'd be opposed to that, correct?
Yeah.
Great. So I'm just making sure that she's not going to send me that duplex with a huge backyard and wonder why I never sent it to her. Okay. So everything in here, go 3 questions deep. So right here, I'm checking this box. I want residential detached. Then I go right over here to price. So Carol, tell me a little bit more about your budget and what you guys are thinking of.
Well, I guess it depends on the house, really. I mean, we're in a good situation with our current house, so I think we'll be able to get a fair price for it. I don't think that we want to spend more than probably $525 on a home right now.
Okay. And how did you come up with that budget?
Reverse engineering as far as payment goes with our accountant person. So we kind of know where we want our payment to be, and anything more than that is going to put us in a would be house poor, which we don't want to do.
Okay. So 525. So I'm writing that down right here. And then I'd ask her one more question. So the first question was, what's budget? How did you come up with that? And now I still don't have clarity around if she knows exactly what she's talking about. So without saying that, I'm going to ask more of a question of, oh, okay. When you reverse engineered this, did you use any sort of online mortgage calculator?
I didn't. Well, my husband probably did. I don't know, but we did have a meeting with our financial guy. So he's the one who said that's probably a reasonable number for us.
Okay. And when you say financial guy, was that a lender or more of like a custodian for your investment portfolio?
It's like an accountant. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. The reason why I ask is because I want to make sure that when you guys are reverse engineering this and you're calculating this, I guess the next question I got to ask is, did you calculate taxes and insurance, and not just principal and interest?
Yes, we
Great.
did for sure, because we currently have to pay that on our house now. So we want to make sure that we have everything included.
Okay, great. So again, I'm going to beat price down here a little bit. Carol, our systems do not have any variances to them. And so if I set your search up with price at 525 and the perfect property meets all of your criteria, hits the market for 526, are you going to be opposed or upset that I didn't send that to you?
I won't. No, not at all. I think that if we're looking at something like, $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000 over 525 for the perfect house, we could probably make that work. But I really do want to stick kind of as close to that as we can.
Okay, great. And that's why I asked, because I don't want you to miss out on anything. So from what I hear you saying is you're comfortable at a 530 and under price point.
Yes, I can get comfy there. Yes.
Okay, and we don't have to see any of these properties. Sometimes, Carol, when some people meet with me, they say 525, and they've actually already built in their variance at the 25. They'd actually like to be 500 and under. So I really appreciate you taking your time to get through that with me. So for everybody watching the video, I just asked her 5 questions around price to make sure of the first thing that she said, right? And it could have went any which way, right? She could have said, well, yeah, actually, that's a good point. We didn't think about taxes and insurance. So I'm going to have to talk with my husband. I'm going to have to, do this. Can we do this? Can we talk to a lender? I'll get back to you on budget. And then I would put 525 question mark. Right now I'm putting 525 and I'm probably drawing an arrow downward saying 525 and under. All right. And then, so we go through and beds and bathrooms, same thing. Carol, how many bedrooms would you need? I need 3. And then, okay, 3. So if the perfect property comes up and it only has 2 bedrooms and a loft, are you going to be upset if I don't send that to you? Well, yeah, Bruce, I told you I need 3. Okay, just making sure. So go through all of that. And the last thing that I'm going to role play with Carol here on criteria is location. You guys have to start making sure that you solidify and you hone in on location, because location is absolutely, anytime I ask this, you can't even think 3 questions deep, because there's 4 directions in the world. So this at least is 4 questions deep. So Carol, tell me, where you guys want to live, where you guys want to look, and I can set this search up.
Well, we would like to live in a community feeling neighborhood. So something that's a little more established. Maybe I like to live close to retail, so not necessarily right in town, but not 40 minutes away. I like having kids in the neighborhood, even though we don't have any. I like having them around. Something that has kind of a nice vibrancy to it, not too rural, I guess, which would be the same thing I said before. I don't know, something similar to the neighborhood that we have now, which is it's just a bunch of nice families. It's newer, I guess, built in 2011.
Okay, great. So if you were to kind of give me, I totally painted a picture, which is great. If you could think of kind of the northernmost area that you would want me, so if I took a map and I put it down in front of you, Carol, and I had a pen and I drew the map search that you would want me to draw, what would be the northernmost, point or road that you would want me to go up to? And sometimes, guys, what we do is we pull out our phones right here, and I'm leaning over Carol's shoulder, and I'm literally showing her a map on my phone. Or if we're on Zoom, I'm going into my browser and I'm hitting Google, and I'm going in and I'm seeing a map, and then I'm gonna go, what is the northernmost road, easternmost, southernmost, and westernmost? And then I'm gonna draw that map pretty much in front of them to verify that that's exactly where they want to look. From everything else that Carol just told me, I'm going to be putting in here in location area. I'm going to write in those 4 roads, but I'm also going to put in what's important to her about everything that she just said. Anytime, you guys, I know the MLS systems like the back of my hand, and half of what Carol just told me, you cannot put into the MLS system to find, but you don't want to just discount someone's points. So take what I call mindless notes, because even though you're not going to set their search up that way, they need to understand that you are listening to them. So keep taking those notes. All right, cool. So we would go through all 4 of those directions and all of that stuff, and then what's important to her about that. And then I would say stuff like, okay, Carol, it sounds like you guys work from home. I'd figure out when the best times she could go are. If we're evenings and weekends work better, AM, PM, if they're willing to, break away from work for a second to go see something, that sort of thing. Now, this is where I start to talk about the market, but I'm not going to go into full detail. I would just say, hey, Carol, when we go through, the reason why I need to know when you can go see homes is because if a house hits the market and yet that matches your criteria and you want to go see it, I need you to feel comfortable to send me that address as soon as you get a chance. And the way that we're going to send addresses is through the portal that I will talk to you about here in the buying process. But I kind of want to know kind of when you can go, because if you see something you like and you can go, we go. So we'll talk more about that up here, but I appreciate you, letting me know that you can kind of go whenever you guys please, whatever your answer was. Carol, I never asked, do you rent or own a home, right? You go through all these questions, and then I come down to financing. So Carol, let's talk about the unpleasantry of buying a home. You're going to be spending some money, right? This is the largest purchase probably of your life. And I want to make sure that we can kind of talk about this in depth. Now, I'm not a licensed mortgage loan originator. However, I can answer some of these questions, but forgive me if some of the questions that you ask I'm not able to answer. Just know that they have a license for a reason, as well as myself with houses. So throughout this process, Carol, if you think of anything financially driven or a question around like what would be my monthly payment on this price or that price, or how does these taxes and do whatever they need to do with my price, I want you to ask your lender about that. All right. I won't know the majority of the answers. And if I do, I will even tell you to probably grab clarity around that with the lender. So you guys right here, I'm literally saying right here, I'm drawing the line in the sand. Buyer, don't call me at 9 o'clock at night wondering what your payment could be on 5/25, right? That is for the lender. It's going to save you time. Just set that precedence right here. And you do it with that look, they're licensed to do that. I'm not, and I don't want to give you any misinformation. So now Carol knows the lanes. Carol knows that if she has that question, I'm not going to be able to answer. So Carol, let me ask you. It sounds like you've been saving up for a down payment, and so that means you've got that ready. Let me ask you, what do you have saved up?
So we have about $25,000 available for a down payment.
Okay, great. Now, so again, guys, 3 questions deep. I like what Carol just said. So you have $25,000 saved up for a down payment. Does that $25,000 include your other fees and closing costs that happen when we buy a home?
Yes.
Okay, so we have $25,000 in total, is what I hear you saying.
Correct.
Okay, so has anybody told you, or are you aware that when you buy a home, there's a 98% chance that you're not going to pay me a thing, but the sellers pay my commissions? So with your $25,000, none of that's going to go to me. That's all going to be for the down payment as well as the other fees. So let's talk about those other fees. The lender has what's called a closing cost to perform the loan. That closing cost also encompasses what we call prepaids. So be careful when you're talking to a lender about just asking them what their closing costs are, because the last thing I want them to do is say, hey, Carol, my closing costs are about $2,200, or let's do whole numbers. My closing costs are $2,500. And then you go to the next lender and they say, well, my closing costs would be right around $4,000 to $6,000. And you're going, wait, what? Why is there such a difference? I think I want to go with the $2,500 person. And then you get to the closing table, and actually what the closing costs and prepaids are is about $4,000 to $6,000. So for all you agents out there listening in on this, there's a difference. So there's one bill for the lender at the end, but it encompasses both closing costs and prepaids. So closing costs are the cost to do business with the lender and get the loan and for the money. Prepaids are what you're going to pay regardless of whether you use a loan or not. So the prepaids are prepayments for taxes and insurance. So when you buy a home, most lenders and insurance companies will have you pay for your first year of homeowners insurance in one lump sum. And so that's why you can go from $2,500 to $5,000 quickly. And both lenders that answered the question, what are my closing costs, answered it correctly. So I want to make sure that you as an agent know that, and you as an agent can explain that to a buyer like Carol. So Carol, does that all make sense? So if you have $25,000, your closing costs on average will be probably around $4,000 to $6,000, and that's in total. That actually includes your appraisal fee, includes the cost of the loan, includes your prepaid taxes and insurance. So out of your $25,000, most likely around $18,000 to $20,000 is actually going to be for the down payment on the loan.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Carol?
Yeah, it does. Is that enough? Would that be enough of a down payment?
That's a good question. And I believe so. But again, to kind of stay in my lane and the lender's lane, the only person that's going to be able to answer that are you and the lender. And the reason why I say that is I know for a fact $25,000 can get you a loan and get you into a home all day long. What I don't know, Carol, is $25,000 enough for a $500,000 purchase price?
Right.
You see, you might be able to comfortably afford the budget of a $500,000 loan, but I can't verify or guarantee that $20,000 will be enough of a down payment on that high of a loan. So talk with the lender. That's a good question. So take your notes, that note page, go ahead and write that down. So that way, when you talk to the lender, you can talk to them about that.
Okay.
Great. Awesome. Well, Carol, I appreciate that. Let's jump right into the last portion of our conversation today, the home buying process. And what I would probably do is end with the financing thing. I'd probably be sharing with her my vendors, my lenders, or I would say, let me email you a list of lenders. Sometimes you just don't have that list available. So yeah, Carol, perfect. Let's move right along here.
Bruce, do you ask if they're pre-approved?
Well, I do if I need to, but right then and there, you've already told me that you haven't talked to a lender, so I didn't need to ask.
Okay.
Yep. Good question though. I want you to stop this video at any time. If you have a kind of a question, other people watching have that same question. Cool. Okay. So let's go through this home buying process, right? Again, I appreciate you meeting with me today. I hope that I exceed your expectations. We just got done talking about, talking with a lender, but I want to pause right here on step 2. And I want you to know the difference. And I'm literally, can you see my mouse when I do this?
Yes.
Cool. So I'm literally doing this with my pen if I'm sitting in front of somebody. I want to talk to you the difference about a pre-qualified letter from a lender as well as a pre-approval letter from a lender. You see, I think there's this big misconception in the world of lending and real estate. A pre-qualification letter simply means that the lender is taking what you said to them verbally, plugging it into their system and saying, based upon what you said, you should be able to do X, Y, and Z. That's a pre-qualification letter. A pre-approval letter is one step further. So always, always, always make sure that you are making sure that your clients are getting pre-approved and not just pre-qualified. So a pre-approval letter is when you verbally say everything and then you back up what you said with supporting documents. So once your lender has gone through your tax returns, pay stubs, bank statements, W-2s, and any other thing that they would need, maybe employment verification, things of that nature, once they have all of that information from you, Carol, then you would be pre-approved. So can you see how big that difference is?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm stressing home on this is because when we go out and take a look at homes and you want to make an offer, what do you think is going to stand behind your offer better for the seller to want to take your offer? A pre-qualification letter or a pre-approval?
Oh, pre-approval for sure.
Right. Exactly. And that, I don't want that one little factor to hinder your ability to purchase a house. Because I can guarantee you that if 2 offers are on a property that you like, and your offer has a pre-qualification letter and the other offer, identical price, identical terms, identical everything, has a pre-approval letter behind it, they're probably going to get the offer.
Right.
Okay. So
Yeah.
why don't we work towards that over the next few days? Okay.
Sure.
We just went through and we just analyzed kind of your needs and wants, right? We talked about what it is you're looking for in a home. And this is kind of where I talk to you more about the market. So when we talk about selecting properties and viewing properties and getting out there and seeing some things, I want to kind of pause right here for a second and kind of give you an overview of what we're dealing with in our market, as well as kind of how you're going to set up showings with me. All right.
Okay.
So our market right now, we're in a seller's market. And honestly, Carol, I can't stand what the media is telling the public out there right now, because any one source of news that you find that talks about real estate right now can literally say 2 of the opposite things. And what I want you to know is more of the reality of things. We are in a seller's market, but it doesn't mean it's not the time to buy a home. What it means is that there are a lot of buyers out there snatching up the inventory quickly. But if you've noticed, Carol, the news sources and the media, they don't say anything about us actually being over the projected closings that we're at right now. So we're actually closing more properties and more deals this year than we have ever before. So when it's a seller's market and it looks like there's low inventory on the market, the reality is with inventory that goes off the market or people, go under contract, there's that many more properties that hit the market. So what I want you to do is be patient. I want you to understand that you're going to love homes and they're going to go out under contract, out from underneath your feet before you can even tell me you want to make an offer.
Right.
But on the flip side of that, just know the next best house is going to be listed tomorrow or the next day. So anytime that you see something that you really wanted to go see and it goes under contract and I say, I'm sorry, Carol, we can't see that one. Keep your head held high and we go see the next one. Don't ever not check your email just because the house you thought you wanted went under contract, because there will be another good one that comes up. So in actually selecting and going out and viewing these properties, I'm going to set you up on our MLS portal. And an MLS is a multiple listing service that we use as agents to feed all of our listings through. So that way our buyers know exactly what's on the market at any given time. And this stuff is updated in real time. Every 15 minutes, you very well might be looking at a house, 25 minutes later, look at it again, and it shows that it's either pending or under contract. So it's a real-time service. It's a living entity. But let's talk about what is pending and what is active backup and active and all of that stuff. Because I encourage you, Carol, to look at some third-party websites. But we also need to know what you're looking at, right? So in our service, in my system, I'm only going to send you what we call active properties. So once that email gets to you, it's an active property, meaning it just got listed. But if you wait 25, 30 minutes a day and you look at that email again, it could be under contract. And the way that you're going to know that it's under contract is if it went from active to changing its status to active backup or pending. If you see a house do that and that's a house you wanted to go see, you can just kind of think to yourself that we're pretty much not going to go see it because somebody else already submitted an offer and it was acceptable to the seller. And so both parties have executed the contract, which means we're not going to go see that house. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this MLS portal, I'm going to set up your search based upon the criteria that we just went over. And in order to kind of tell me when you want to go see something, I want you to put everything that you like into your favorites folder.
Okay.
And I want you to put everything that you don't want to see into your trash folder.
Okay.
Now, there's a third option, and it's called a maybes file. Carol, I don't know about you, but I'm guessing that you're only going to be buying one house, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would encourage you not to use the maybes folder because it's either something you want to see or you don't want to see. If it's a maybe, meaning you can't tell from the picture, but it's still intriguing, it meets all your criteria, then I encourage you to just put it into the favorites and we go see it. Because the last thing I also want you to do is go out, find a home you love, and then come back to your computer and look at your search and go, well, maybe I shouldn't make an offer just because I have so many other things in my maybes. Maybe something is better. And then if we take our time and we go look at all of those maybes, the chances of that house that you like going under contract is going to be very high. So make a decision, trash or favorites. Text me, call me, email me, and say, hey, Bruce, I want to go see what's in my favorites and give me a time and date that works good for you. By using that portal and by using that method, Carol, you don't have to copy and paste these addresses. You don't have to fumble finger through your text and look at the computer screen and text me those addresses. A lot of mistakes happen that way. And honestly, the system is so user-friendly. You're going to love using it that way. So does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. So when we go out and take a look at properties, I want you to know a couple of things. One, I'm not tied to these listings. So what I mean by that is if you go into a house and you don't love it, then we leave. Don't appease me by looking at a house that you're not going to want to make an offer on. Because if you do that, you may very well find some features of that home that you like, And you might cross those features in your mind with other homes that we go see. So it's very important that when we walk into a home, if you're not feeling it, it's not your home, we're going to step out of the house. I'm going to lock up the door and we're going to talk about why it's not the right home for you. So that way we make sure you don't buy a home that's not right for you, right? So on the flip side of that, or I should say in the same breath, I want you to stay in the homes that you like. When you get to a home that you like, I'm not the type of agent that's going to look at my watch and go, well, we have 15 minutes. You better run through everything because we got to get to our next appointment, right? If you like it, I want you to feel it. I want you to know that this is the right offer, because in our market right now, you have one opportunity to see the home, because if you like it and potentially want to make an offer on it, another buyer may want to do the same thing. So take your time to validate and verify that that's the home that you want to make an offer on.
Right.
If we are starting to take some time, I might just ask you, hey, how long do you think we're going to be? So that way I can push back the other appointments. So take your time if you love it. But on the flip side, as soon as you see something that's going to cause you not to want to make an offer on it, I'm not here to talk you into making an offer. So we need to get out of that house and go on to the next one. All right?
Yeah.
Great. Once we identify the property for you, we're gonna write an offer. And what I want you to understand about an offer is it is the 19-page contract. So an offer becomes an executed contract once both parties sign. So what I'm getting at, Carol, is when you want to make an offer, I need some time to write that up. I can't do it with the click of a finger. I have to go home. I have to go back to my office or maybe a coffee shop with you and write up that offer. It takes me about 10, 15, 20 minutes to a half an hour, depending upon what all nuances we have in that home. And then what I'll do is I'll email that contract over to you. I want you to take a look at it, and I want you to review whatever you need to review. I'm happy to go line by line with you. I'm happy to do a Reader's Digest version with you, or I'm just simply happy to answer any questions that you have before you sign. So then we sign that offer, we get it over to the selling side, and they make a decision on when they're going to review it and when they'll get back to us. So it's really important to know right here, and I'll reiterate this again when we make an offer, but in our offer, when we send it over, there's what's called an acceptance deadline in the contract. A lot of people look at that deadline as a response deadline, Carol. It's not a response deadline. The sellers can go past that deadline because it's an acceptance deadline. If they want to accept our contract as is, all terms, and not have to counter us on anything, then yes, they need to sign it and send it back to us before our deadline. Don't get me wrong. But if they're thinking about rejecting our offer or countering our offer, they actually can go past that deadline because they're not accepting it as is. Okay, so if we have an offer out and we put a deadline of 6 o'clock that night, I really want to stress, and I really want to stress home that if you don't hear from me by 6 o'clock that night, it's just simply because I haven't heard from them. Now, I do make it a point to touch base with you and everything, but I don't want you to get all in a tizzy or upset with the seller if they go past that deadline. That makes sense?
How far past can they go?
Technically they can go however long they want, because once they go past that deadline, it's up to you as the buyer to accept whatever they come back at us with, which means if they wait 5 days before they send us a counter proposal, you could easily be under contract on another house. Or you could say, well, it's been 5 days. You guys didn't receive an offer. I don't like your counter proposal. I'm sticking to a lower price now. So yeah, if they go past that deadline, basically what it means is you then have the upper hand with whatever they come back at us with. You have the say and the veto.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome.
Cool. So let's say everything goes smoothly, right? We go under contract. We execute, whether it be the contract we sent or maybe a counter proposal. Once we go under contract, the very first thing that we're going to do is submit earnest money. Now, Carol, actually, I just thought of something in my head. Do you know what I mean by a counter proposal?
Well, I'm assuming that means they're saying, no, we don't like your offer. We want they want something in addition to or instead of.
Great. That's exactly pretty much how I define it. Yeah. A counter proposal is saying, hey, We don't mind your offer, but we don't like all of the key points in it. We'd like to change, delete, or add something to it. It's a one-page document that actually goes in and is attached to the original offer. So whatever's in the counter proposal is just the new stuff that they want us to agree upon. We don't have to agree upon it, but if we do, just know that anything they changed is what is in effect, and anything from the original contract that they didn't change is also in effect. So that's why those two documents will marry up and party together. Okay. So we go under contract, and the first thing that you're going to do is submit earnest money. Now, earnest money is 1 to 2% of the purchase price of the property. So hypothetically speaking, all right, we've got your $25,000. We're going to set aside $5,000 for the lender closing costs and prepaids. And now we're looking at a $500,000 house. Let's say that, you know, the earnest money that they're asking for is $5,000. So out of that $20,000 left, you want to put up a portion of your down payment amount up front, and that's called earnest money. So I really want to stress that when you deposit that $5,000 check to the title company, that you know it's part of your down payment and it's not over and above the actual price of the home. So if we make an offer at $500,000, that's what you're paying is $500,000.
Okay.
And at the very end of the process, your earnest money is still sitting in a bank account, basically. And then once you give the rest of your down payment, the other $15,000, the title company is going to merge those two, and that's going to be your full down payment for the loan to close on the property.
Okay.
Does earnest money make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
What if so they keep it though? Do I get it back if they don't accept my offer? Or wait, that comes after the offer.
Really good question. Let me touch home on that, Carol. So yeah, earnest money is only turned in after you have gone under contract. And typically what we're going to write into the contract is that you're going to turn that in within the first 3 business days. Now, you're right that somebody else has your money. It gets pulled out of your bank account, and that's where my job comes into play. I need to protect that thing through and through. And so during the contract phase, there's going to be different situations that you are going to have the right to back out of the contract due to what we find. If you have that right and we exercise that right, then I'm going to submit what we call an earnest money release form to the seller to sign, for the title company then to release your earnest money and get it back to you so we can go look at another home.
Okay.
Now, it's in your right. So let's talk about the first right, which is honestly the next step of what you're going to do. So after you submit earnest money, the very next thing that we're going to be working on is scheduling our inspection. So inspections happen within the first 7 to 10 days typically. And we need to get on the phone with that inspector day 1 of going under contract to get the inspection scheduled. The inspector will go out to the house, perform a whole home inspection, and they're going to come up with things that aren't working, need replaced, deferred maintenance, anything that is potentially wrong with the home or going to be going wrong with the home. They're going to have on this very long-winded report. So Carol, I don't want you to be scared by this report. I've never seen an inspection report, even on a brand new build house, that was less than 30 to 40 pages.
Oh my gosh.
Because the reality is that as the sun hits a home right now, it's basically deteriorating the home. As the wind blows, different things happen to the home. So what I'm getting at is no home is perfect, and that we can't expect every home to be perfect. So don't be overwhelmed by a long inspection report. We're going to be focused on those big ticket items, the health and safety concerns, the major things not working with the home. But better yet, even if there's a litany of hundreds of little things, during the inspection period, you have the ultimate absolute right to say whether you want to continue on with the property and the contract, or you want to back out. If you want to back out of the contract due to any inspection items, we need to do so before our inspection objection deadline. So there's a deadline in the contract that we need to abide by. If you back out before that deadline, you get your earnest money back. So this is where I protect your earnest money. I make sure that we don't go past that deadline because I never will put your earnest money in jeopardy. Okay. So
Okay.
if I've ever put your earnest money in jeopardy and it's my fault without your consent to move forward with that contract, I will pay for your earnest money if I can't get it back from the seller. Because you see, the reality is that you're putting your trust in me. And at the end of the day, I only get paid if we close. So it's well beyond me to put your earnest money in jeopardy, because I want you to close and I want you to continue to work with me. So if I say a deadline day is coming up, we need to make sure that we have whatever we need done before that deadline day, so that way we don't have that jeopardy period. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Great. Cool. So once the inspection's done, we're going to submit to the other side what we would like them to either fix, repair, or replace. Or maybe we just need to have them inspect something and sign off saying that something's good. Either way, we'll bring it up when the time comes, but we submit that to the seller. And now the seller has the right to say what they will or won't do based upon our request. So they can accept our request and say they're going to fix and do everything we asked. They can reject our request and say we're not doing a thing. And they can counter us. So it's very much like the offer, right? We submit our offer on the property. They can accept it, counter us, or reject us. They can do the same thing through inspection, which is why I really want to stress right here and right now that in a seller's market, sellers are typically only going to be looking at health and safety concerns that are of major status. So we're going to tackle that when the time comes. I don't want to get down that nitty-gritty road. I just want to prepare you for what's going on out there. If you want a dryer vent cleaned out, Carol, and it's just the dryer vent, the chances of a seller doing that is going to be very slim to none, because that's going to be more of homeowner maintenance. That if you want it done and you want the house, prepare yourself to do that on your own. Okay. So we're going to go through inspection. Once we're done with that, or I should say in the meantime, the lender is going to be ordering the appraisal. So the appraisal can take 2 to 3 weeks. The lender sends out an appraiser to the property. They're going to go through the home and they're going to assess the value of the home. The value of the home is very important for you on your loan, because what we're looking for is the house to appraise at contract price or above. If it appraises at our offer price or above our offer price, congratulations, you move forward with the contract at the contract price. So I really want to stress home on that. If we're under contract on a property for $500,000 and it appraises for $510,000, we're not increasing our purchase price to $510,000. We're still going to move forward at $500,000. But now on the flip side, Carol, this is where it gets a little muddy and a little messy. If the property appraises for less than our contract price, what the contract says is that the buyer doesn't have to pay a penny over the contract price, but the seller does not have to sell the house for a penny less than contract price. Ooh, I said that a little backwards. Hold on. The
No,
buyer
right.
doesn't have to spend a penny over the appraisal price, but the seller doesn't have to budge on the contract price. So hypothetically speaking, if we're in at 500,000 and the appraiser comes back and says, hey, the property is worth 495, then you as the buyer would have the right to back out of the contract or say, hey, seller, we want you guys to come down to 495. The seller then has the right to say, well, I can appreciate that ask. However, I'm sticking to my guns at 500. So sometimes we meet, sometimes we negotiate. Sometimes the seller comes all the way down. Sometimes you as the buyer will want to come all the way up. Sometimes we meet in the middle. Sometimes it's offset. So maybe in this situation, the seller comes down 3,000 and you come up 2,000. The reality is when that happens, I'll walk you through that. But the only time we need to be worried about an appraisal is when it comes in lower. So when we're out there looking at homes and you want to make an offer, one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to run what we call a comparative search. I want to know if what we're making an offer on is actually worth what the market's telling us is worth. So that way we can get pretty close. So that way we don't have to go through that headache. But it does happen, and I'm no stranger to negotiating through that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Great. In the meantime, obtain mortgage financing. They're going to be doing credit checks on you. They're going to be sending all of your documents through the underwriting process, ordering the appraisal. If it's an acreage property, we may have to have a survey done. And also, they're going to want you to call your insurance companies. So your insurance companies are anybody that you currently work with, maybe for your auto loan. Anything that you do, you got to call an insurance broker to get property insurance, and you need to send that quote to your lender. The lender needs to make sure that quote is adequate. And if that quote is too high and you can't perform on the loan, we need to back out of the contract due to the insurance deadline. Again, I'll walk you through all of that. It's my job to protect you. I know we're getting in the weeds with this. I really appreciate you hanging in there so long. If you have any questions, let's tackle them. Otherwise, we can just finish this up.
No, I think we're good so far.
Okay. So on the other side of things, on the selling side, the seller is going to be transferring the deed from their name into your name, and they're going to make sure that it's free and clear of any liens or encumbrances. So we want to make sure that they can pay off their loan balance. We want to make sure if they have any back taxes, they can pay those off through the proceeds. So that's all going to be going on while we're doing our inspection and our appraisal and submitting earnest money and all of that. And once that time comes, again, I'll let you know when the title commitment hits our emails and how to kind of look at that and tackle that. Make sense?
Yes.
Cool. So all of this under contract stuff takes about 30 to 45 days. And traditionally speaking, unless otherwise negotiated, we're going to close and you're going to take possession of the home on the same day. So we go to closing, you bring your down payment money and your closing costs. The lender brings the loan amount to the table. The seller gets their funds. We sign off on the deed and all of the contracts and documents. You get your keys and you leave the title company and it's your house. Again, unless something's otherwise negotiated. So if that happens, we'll tackle that when time comes. But for the purposes of us sitting down today, that's about all that I have for you. So I got to ask you, Carol, if everything sounds good, do you see any reason why we shouldn't start working together today?
No, I think it all looks great, and I would love to work with you. I guess do have one question. Since we're trying to sell our house at the same time, is that something that is worked into the contract, or what if we can't sell it in time, or sell it I guess selling it too early is not really their problem, but what if, I need another 2 weeks or something like that? Is there a way can we extend that?
Very good question. And I'm sorry, I kind of glossed over it for the video. So let's back up. Let's pretend we're kind of in step 2. We haven't gone through the buy-in process yet. Instead of glossing over, do you rent or own? This is where I would ask her. I'd say, now, Carol, I never asked you over the phone. Do you currently own or rent your home? And so what Carol's telling me is she owns her home. So right here is kind of when I would tackle that. So I apologize. I kind of went out of flow there. So Carol, that's a good question, right? So you own your own home, and there's a couple of different things that we could do or that could happen. One, if you talk to a lender, they may or may not be able to approve you not having to sell that home. So I think best case scenario would be if you can get a pre-approval, not having your other home sold, so we can go buy a home non-contingent. It's going to give you a leg up in this market. Now, on the flip side of that, we still need to sell your home, because who wants to hold 2 mortgages? So I really appreciate it if after this meeting, you and Dennis talk about whether or not you guys absolutely want to sell your home and then purchase, or if we can talk to a lender and actually go out there and purchase a home non-contingent. So if you guys decide, or if the lender decides for you that we need to sell your home first and then purchase, I want you to know it's going to be a delicate balance. And here's why. There's going to be risk involved. Anytime you do anything in real estate, you're going to run into a question or a fork in the road where no matter what path you take, you're going to have some risk. All right. So the risk of getting pre-approved non-contingent is that you get to go out and buy a home and not have to compete or not have somebody turn your offer down because you have to sell your home. But the risk on that path is you have another home that you need to pay a mortgage on even after you buy another home. And how long will this other home take? So that's risk number one. Risk number two is you have a home to sell and you need to figure out how you can do this simultaneously. And the risk on this side of things is if you have a home to sell and you put an offer in on a different home, the risk is that the seller may not actually accept your offer because of your other home. So what we need to do is we need to formulate a game plan. We need to start getting pre-approval as well as looking at getting your home on the market. So when your home's on the market and you need to sell your home in order to buy, every step of the process is going to look better on the buying side of things. So for instance, if we submit an offer on a property and your home's not on the market, the seller's very unlikely to take your offer. But if we submit an offer on a buying side and your home is on the market and under contract, the selling side very, very well may take your contingent offer because you're progressing forward. Now, again, every step makes it a little bit better. So I would say that there's very little to no chance if you have to sell your home and it's not on the market, all the way up to a very good chance that your offer will get accepted all day long if your current home is under contract and through inspection. There's a really good chance somebody's going to take that because every step of the way is another hurdle that the sellers know you're working towards. And the closer you get to the finish line, the less risks the seller is going to take taking your offer.
Right.
So in this situation, what we commonly do, Carol, is we would commonly list your home at the same time that you're looking for other properties. And we basically work through each and every situation. So you may fall in love with a home and that seller may not take your contingency. But at the same token, 5 houses later, meaning after we see another 5 houses, there's a seller who may take your contingency. But in the meantime, what we're going to be doing is showing your other home so we can get action and activity. So we show that seller side that you're making the right moves. Now, one of the questions, and this is a big thing that comes up, is, well, I don't want to sell my home first. What if my home goes under contract right away and I haven't identified the next property yet? Again, Carol, it's a pattern of risk. That is a risk that you'd have to take if you're contingent. So I have to ask you, if that's a big thing for you, you may want to start looking at where can I store some of my stuff, and maybe can I bunk up with a friend or a family member for a few weeks before I close on my next home? Or some people, Carol, they just don't have the ability to move twice. And I get that. What you might have to do is you might have to lower the price of your home in order to get an offer or a buyer who wants your contingent property that will actually give you the time you need to find another home. So perfect world is you would put your home on the market, cause so much activity because it's at a price that's going to cause it to sell. If you price it that way, you may receive an offer from a buyer who's ready to close on the home in 30 days, but let you rent back your own home for 2 months afterwards. You see, after the home closes, then you can go close on the next home because you don't own it anymore. So you would basically be a tenant for 2 months. And then we would have that plenty of time then to go find another home, close on it, and move forward. So a lot of unknowns with that, but the best way, shape, and form to do any of this is to know your risk, to understand it. And if this is too much risk for you, then unfortunately, we're not buying a home and you're not selling a home.
Right.
So talk through that risk. Let me know your thoughts on it. But my thoughts and the best way I know how to do this are to do things simultaneously. We're getting pre-approval with the lender. We're going out and looking at homes. In the meantime, I'm getting photos taken. I'm starting to market your home, and we get that thing on the market and showing setup. That way we can be working on both things at the same time. And we may have an offer stick for you on the buy side, or we may have an offer that comes in on the sell side, and then we have to negotiate with them what you're willing to do. And that's all. I want you to be at ease with me. I want you to understand I've done this many times, and that if I even run into any issues or hiccups, I've got a whole team of agents behind me that can help me. Every office, Carol, has managing brokers. So I will never get into a pickle because we've got attorneys and managing brokers on our side. So I really don't want any of this risk to cause you not to take action, because the reality is that you're sitting down in front of me today because you want to get out of the current situation you're in. Let's get you into a home that has those bedrooms that you and Dennis can work in, and let's make it happen.
Right. Okay. Got it.
Cool. So Carol, that's a really good question to end our call today. Is there anything else that I need to go over that we haven't discussed, or any reasons why we shouldn't move forward?
No, none that I can see at all. I'm happy.
Great. Well, this last document that I'm going to send you, and if you have your email open, I'll just email it to you right now. And
Okay.
so guys, this is where I'd be going and getting into my contracts page. So I would get into my contracts page, and I would pull open an already filled out exclusive right to buy. And I would be saying, so I'm not going to pull it open right now, but I would say, okay, Carol, so if all looks good and we should move forward, I want to go over that loyalty agreement that I talked about in the first part, right? So I have a loyalty agreement, and if you want me to start setting up your search and getting going today, let's go through this. So I'd go through the exclusive right to buy, we'd get it signed, and we'd move on with our day. And you guys, that's honestly that's my buyer's consultation. That's my presentation.
Well done.
So, a lot of people ask me right here, and Carol, do you have a couple minutes?
Yeah.
I actually don't know if I do. Let me double check my
Wow.
calendar. Okay, so I do have a call here at 2. But lastly, I want you guys to know that right here is where when I train or I teach this class, a lot of people start to go, well, how do you get them to sign? What if they're not willing to work with you? What if they have this? And what you guys are asking me are objections. And if you guys want to learn how to handle objections, it's not going to be through me telling you on this recording. It's going to be you engaging with us. And when I say us, it's going to be you engaging with any mentor or coach or trainer that you have through scripts. Right now, Mondays and Wednesdays, I don't think that'll ever change. Mondays and Wednesdays, 8:30 to 9. Like, I'm happy to record that, right? Because that's where you'll learn that. So if you're thinking and you're watching this video and you have any questions around how to get that agreement signed, and what if they put up any walls or barriers, we're going to tackle that in scripts practice. I hope you guys are having a great day. I appreciate you, Carol.
Thanks. I appreciate you too.
Any other questions before I end the recording for these folks?
I don't think so. I think that was really, really great. Oh, no, I do have a question, actually. Buyer's presentations in general, a blank template. Is there a place where people can get one to customize so that they're not trying to reinvent the wheel?
Good, great question. Great question. So the best place to do it is, one, you can steal mine, or go into KW Connect, or go into KW Command. So I'll show you both situations right here. So here's Command. And then down here in the Designs tab,
Mm-hmm.
Can't remember which one it is.
Third one up.
In the Designs tab, what you would do is most likely go to either print media, or maybe even email. You really just want to get into the design system, and then find a search bar.
Mm-hmm.
Under templates, probably go into buyers here, buyer presentation.
Ah, got it.
And here's your buyer presentation that you can take and edit.
Okay.
So these are very, very long presentations, so you can edit them to whatever you see fit. And then over here, So that's command, guys, in the design system. Over here in connect, you may want to, let me see, I'm actually just spitballing with this. I can't remember exactly where it's at, but I'm telling you, search bars are my end all be all. So buyers, sellers. So I would type it in here, and I honestly would just go through and see where I could find any sort of material under buyer's presentation. And they may have taken some of this out of here since we're all going to be using command here. But go through here and just see if you can't find anything that you want. If you want, I can send you everything that I had. But I really believe that these are probably going to be the game changers right now, because I think the flow charts even in this thing that I just used.
Awesome.
All the red stuff on that flow chart that you guys saw is all stuff that we edited on a PDF editor. So if you do find the flow chart, you may not see everything that I had on there. See if
Okay.
but yeah, there's tons of stuff. Take out what you're going to use in your business and keep in what you're going to use otherwise. All right.
Right on. Thank you.
You bet. Actually, let me see if it's. I'll give you guys some easy ones. If you guys type in Ignite, go to Ignite and just click on buyers and sellers. There's all sorts of stuff that you can pull from there too.
Cool. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Carol. Have a
Thank
great day.
you.